So I'm not really, like Dawkins, doing a demolition job on religion, unlike some other books that try to look at the religious life in terms of myth. I try to rescue truth from these metaphors. To me, the metaphors point to something, even though in themselves they're not literally true, in my view. As an American schoolboy once said to his teacher, a myth is something that's true on the inside, but not true on the outside. I found that really helpful, really, really helpful. And after mythic traditions are deconstructed, it would be foolish and insensitive, I think, not to see beyond the myths to the kernels of truth inside them. For instance, to give you some examples, feeding the 5,000 with a couple of loaves and fishes is hardly, to me, true on the outside, but the connotation might be true. That is, that people walked away from the teachings of Jesus feeling nourished by what they'd heard. Myths work on the as-if factor. It was as if they'd been given physical nourishment. And I think myths tend, on the whole, to tell spiritual tales using physical metaphors. The virgin birth, I have a lot to say about that in this book, is to me a myth with no historical content. But if we use our imaginations, we can rescue some of its meaning. It refers to the birth of the spiritual life in the soul. And this is not a sexual or biological process, but something that happens spontaneously by itself, as if in a miraculous manner, inverted commas. When I was doing my PhD at the University of Adelaide in the 1970s, I read a lot of ancient mythology and found there were hundreds upon hundreds of virgin births in antiquity. And I was sort of firstly quite unsettled by this. I thought there was only one virgin birth. But that's sort of what churches would have you believe. Clearly, this was an ancient literary trope, and even the Egyptian pharaohs claimed to have been born of virgins. The motif of a virgin birth was attributed, in fact, to anyone who was felt to have special gifts, but to take this literally is, to me, a failure to read myth correctly. And of course, feminists have had a lot to say about that too, and the effect of the taking that literally have had on women's understandings of themselves and their sexuality has been catastrophic. So in that regard, I'd take issue with Rachel and say that I think that sometimes taking things literally can be socially catastrophic in their consequences. We could have a chat about this on radio. So watch the space.